Do you mind? Oh, there we go. You started the clock. Thanks, dude. Hi, my name is Corey Minter, and I'm the president of Trinity Employment Specialists. Trinity, as a staffing company, we operate in both Oklahoma City and the Tulsa areas, and we staff for different positions in the healthcare field, in banking, and in the finance industries. In the healthcare field, we will work with positions such as medical billing specialists, medical assistants, x-ray techs, front office assistants, front office receptionists, anything from a front office person all the way up to a physician's assistant is what we recruit for, and we can even do direct hires for physicians if that's a possibility or if that ever comes our way. We've been doing this in Tulsa for a little over, we're almost 10 years now. And in the last 4 years, we've received some really significant awards for our progress. In the last 3 years, we've been one of Tulsa's top 40 fastest growing companies. And this last year, actually this month, we're coming out in Inc. magazine as one of the nation's top 5,000 fastest growing companies in America, which is a huge, huge honor. We're very, very proud of that. And but in the finance industry, we staff for everything from an accountant all the way up to a CFO, or even accounting clerks in lower level customer service type positions. In banking, we do everything from a teller all the way up through a loan originator. And so those are our specialties. We have different departments for each one of those groups. And it's something that we have done and done quite well in the Oklahoma City and Tulsa markets. I want to talk with you just real quickly about something that I've been working with one of my friends for a presentation that we're going to do. And we've started trying to figure out what are the differences between the unsuccessful versus the very successful. And we've put some research into it, just tried to pay attention to what some of the most successful people in our industry, not in our industry, but just in business say about this. I think that it was Mark Cuban that was doing an interview, and this was a long time ago that I was watching this, but he said something to the fact that the biggest differentiator between the unsuccessful and the successful are the small decisions that are made. It's just decision making. And one of the things that got me to thinking is that we all get to choose our decisions. That's one thing that we have the opportunity to make a choice with. For example, this lady on my way over here to shoot this video really, really cut me off in a bad way. Almost made both of us wreck. She had no clue that I was there, and I had the decision. I could get really, really ticked off at that, which I think earlier in my life, like when I was a teenager, that's exactly what would have happened. I would have probably yelled, screamed, and done some kind of hand gesture, I'm sure. When I was younger, I was a little bit out of whack. Or you can just take it for what it is and let that person go on. And you know what? If you sit around and notice some of the most successful or the unsuccessful, they seem to get really tied up over things that just don't matter. Have you noticed this? They make a big deal about something that really in the end just doesn't matter. It's just useless drama. And they really feed into this. There aren't too many really successful people that I know that will tolerate even taking time to deal with that kind of stuff. Like maybe it ticks them off, but they know that spending time with it is worthless. One of my mentors a long time ago told me about getting into an argument with somebody that you know is just irrational. And you know who I'm talking about. The people that they just don't make good decisions. He said it's like getting in a pig pen with a pig and wrestling around. You're both going to get muddy, but the pig's going to like it. And if you're going to be successful, you want to keep the mud off of you and not jump in the mud pit with the pig, because you're both going to get dirty. You're not going to like it, and they are. And it's something that is a really important thing to learn. But the people that are unsuccessful, they make the decisions to jump into things that don't make sense. They want to put their efforts into things that don't make sense. They want to get angry with things that don't make sense. And it's the small decisions that they make in their life. And maybe it's not just that, but maybe it's, rather than being fiscally responsible, it is going and buying something that they can't afford, that doesn't give them any kind of value. Going down to Quick Trip every day and spending an escalated amount on something that they could go to the grocery store for if they would have planned it out. You know, there's a big, huge cost savings there. And if they're having trouble financially, well, maybe they're making poor decisions. I've watched a lot of people just make very poor financial decisions. But if you pay attention, you'll see a pattern of small decisions that lead them to where they're at. On the other hand, the very successful, you will see a series of decisions that leads them to where they're at. They'll make tough decisions that are hard. They will be willing to take the road that is less traveled, that is more difficult, and they will travel that road. My granddad told me this. He said, "Son, the big deer," and when he was talking to me about deer hunting, he said, "the big deer are never going to be walking the path of least resistance because they've learned. They're always going to stay in the brush, most likely." Now, any other time of the year, you might find some of the bigger deer on those paths, but once they start hearing gunshots, they've learned to stay in the brush. And that's why it's much easier to find the smaller deer, is because of that one thing. But deer generally are going to take the path of least resistance, most of them, but the big ones don't. And that is the very same thing with success, I believe. Decisions people make a big difference in their life, and it's something that I've noticed. They make decisions that give them short-term satisfaction at the expense of their long-term goals. And maybe I need to come up with an example for that. If someone were to go purchase a car, I've watched this happen a lot, where people they get at the car lot and they start out where they want to spend $10,000, they end up spending $15,000. But if someone were to go and buy a vehicle that is way more than what they need or what they can really afford, that will be a short-term satisfaction. That car will give them probably about a week or two of like, oh, I'm really doing it. And then the fact they got to pay for it for a long time sets in, and the fact that they now have no extra money left over at the end of the month. Now they have no savings at the end of the month. They're pouring all of their money into a car that is a liability. And they are making a short-term decision for satisfaction at the expense of their long-term goals. And that is one of the bigger decisions. But then they'll make smaller ones throughout the week, like going to the convenience store, like what I was talking about, not spending their money wisely. And that is going to be at the expense of their long-term goals. Well, so many people in America do this. Our government does this. We're in like $17-18 trillion worth of debt. And it's because our government wants a short-term satisfaction, and it goes against our long-term goals. Most of America does this. They just do it. It's a part of our culture. Our culture is a big piece of just debt. Most people are in a significant amount of debt. They don't have $2,000 saved. And it's a big, big problem. It's almost like an alcoholic where they take that sip for the short-term satisfaction, but it goes against their long-term goals. And they have to change the way that they make decisions. And so, if you are out there and you are wanting to try to make gain and get up and start reaching your goals, making a pathway to goals, well, you have to start making a series of decisions that lead you uphill towards your goals. Most of those decisions are going to, just like the deer, they're not going to be the path of least resistance. In fact, they're going to be the path of most resistance, but you keep making those decisions that lead you uphill and create uphill habits rather than making short-term decisions or decisions for short-term satisfaction that create downhill habits, and it leads you away from your long-term goal. It's really important that your decision-making change and shift over to where it has your long-term goals in mind. It's just like one of the great authors had written not long ago, to start with the end first. Think about the end first and then create a system. Think about the end first when you make decisions, and it will make a big difference for you. I hope that this helps somebody in making a decision. If you're needing to try to make a decision on where to get hired, please give us a call at Trinity Employment Specialists. We would love to help you. Our number is 918-622-2588, or you can visit us online at trinityemployment.com. Thank you.